Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video. I hope that you're all having a really wonderful Friday, a fabulous Friday thus far. And so I'm going to be taking you guys through what is currently going on across the Caribbean, of course, and what is expected as we progress into the next few days. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't done so already and tap the notification bell so that you never miss an important update. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at satellite imagery here, and we can see that there isn't much activity taking place across the Caribbean right now. We do see some activity in the vicinity of especially the Windward Islands from the vicinity of Martinique southward, and we can also see that over in parts of Hispaniola there is some activity moving in that might induce some brief showers as well, but for the most part things are dry and we're not seeing those pops of color to indicate that convective activity taking place. So there isn't much activity across the Caribbean right now. So we had the passage of two fronts several days ago, and that helped to induce rainfall, well-needed rainfall for many areas. However, this dry pattern is sort of returning, and drought conditions are resuming as well for some areas here. So we're going to be taking a look at the total rainfall that is expected for some areas. But first, let's go ahead and move on to this surface chart here for the Caribbean. And so if you're in parts of the Caribbean, especially the central Caribbean and even parts of the Eastern Caribbean, you might notice that it's quite windy, especially in the daytime going into the evening hours. And so we've got that high pressure that is well off the coast of the US out in the Atlantic, and we've got that low pressure area in the vicinity of Colombia. Now those two pressure systems, high and low pressure, are interacting with each other, and that is the reason why winds are so strong at times across the Caribbean, especially when we have a greater pressure difference between those systems. That helps to induce stronger winds, and so the strongest winds are off the coast of Colombia, of course, but as I said, Eastern Caribbean and especially the Central Caribbean might experience some of those stronger winds. Next, we want to go ahead and look at that rainfall, the total accumulated precipitation that is expected, and we're going to be looking at three models here: GFS, Euro, and the Canadian model. So starting out with the GFS, and if you're not familiar with this, where you have the shades over to the right side of your screen with the values beside them, that is to show how much rainfall those different color shades indicate. So as we look at this map here, where we see those darker greens, so going from that lighter to darker shade of green is a bit more rainfall, and then those blues go into the purple shades, indicate increased rainfall activity. But we're not going to go beyond that point because we're not really seeing any other colors in the Caribbean aside from those spots of blue and those shades of green. So where we have those darker shades of green, as I said, that's where a bit more rainfall is expected compared to areas that are in those paler shades of green. And of course, those areas that remain white are those that are not expected to receive rainfall within this time period. So between now and near the end of Sunday, we're seeing here that not much rainfall activity is expected across the Caribbean. The most rainfall is likely along the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and western Panama, and over in the Lesser Antilles. So as we have those winds coming from the east or the east-northeast, once they make contact with the relief of the land, the mountains, the hills over to the eastern side, that can help to induce some orographic or relief rainfall within the area. It's nothing very major expected, but we can see that the Euro model here is sort of in agreement with that, but showing a lot less rainfall activity for the Caribbean coast of the aforementioned Central American countries here. So not much rainfall activity expected across most of the region, just across the some of the Lesser Antilles, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, and St. Lucia. Now, as for the CMC model here, we can see that it is sort of in agreement with this. Not much rainfall seen for the Greater Antilles and parts of the Virgin Islands as well, and even into parts of Central America, the Yucatan, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, even going over into El Salvador. Not much rainfall activity likely for the most part between now and near the end of Sunday for these areas. So that dry pattern has definitely returned, and it doesn't seem as though we're going to be having any imminent rainfall activity, major rainfall activity. Even as I speak about that, let's go on to the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook map from the Climate Prediction Center, and where we have that key, where we see those shades of browns indicate the probability of below average rainfall. Let's go ahead and focus on week 2. So that is from March 29th to April 4th. Take a look at this. We're seeing that parts of the Caribbean are expected to receive below average rainfall, including Jamaica, Eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and even parts of the Leeward Islands, all expected to receive below average rainfall within this time period here. But of course, I mean, we're in the dry season, and especially coupled with the fact that an El Nino is potential later this year, that could even help to induce less rainfall activity overall for the Caribbean, because it would help to induce more stable conditions. And when we get showers and thunderstorms, all that activity is dependent on instability within the atmosphere. So guys, in the case of those very dry conditions, those drought conditions, it is very important to remember that you should conserve on water. And of course, some simple ways of doing this include taking shorter showers instead of long baths, as well as even to when you're washing your vehicle, to use a container instead of just using the hose, because a lot of water gets wasted that way. So it is very important to conserve on water, not necessarily even in drought conditions, but at all times. And of course, I'm going to be keeping you updated on all that is happening across the tropics as time goes by. That is pretty much it for now. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.